Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm here now with Tobias from Tandem. And Tobias is the co-founder and chief product officer of the language learning app Tandem and based in Berlin in Germany. He's a serial entrepreneur with a background in media science. And a little fun fact, both Apple and Google have given the Tandem app their prestigious Best of the Year awards. So I'm looking forward to this talk, Tobias, and I will leave it to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Antonia, for the introduction, and hi, everyone. And yeah, also thanks to everyone at Chatterbug for putting together this amazing event again. And yeah, thank you also for the invitation to speak. And let me just share my presentation. I hope you can see it now. Yeah, so I'm Tobias. I'm co-founder of Tandem. And today I want to talk about language immersion through live online group experiences. And I hope towards the end of my talk, it's going to be clear what that's supposed to mean. But yeah, first some background on Tandem. So Tandem is a language learning community. We started it about 7 years ago. And over the years, the community has grown to 18 million members. You can basically find people to practice languages with. We are offering 300 languages, including 20 sign languages. And these flags here indicate the countries where our community has the most members. So in the Americas, that's the US, Mexico, and Brazil. In Europe, it's Germany, France, Italy. Then there's Turkey, Russia, China, and Japan. And it basically works by downloading our app from the App Store or Play Store, or we also have a web version under tandem.net. And when you create an account on Tandem, we ask you to tell us which languages you are speaking and which ones you want to learn. And then we show you a list of members of the community who speak the languages you learn and learn the languages you speak. And then you can contact them and jump on them in a chat, which is basically very much like WhatsApp or WeChat or Telegram, with some special language learning features that those other messengers don't support. Like you can correct each other's messages, you can translate, transliterate, and you can also jump on an audio video call, but of course also send images, audio messages, like all these features you're used from your other messengers. And yeah, of course, we are constantly thinking about how to improve it and what to build next. And we are also receiving a lot of feedback every day on improvements, on ideas for new features. But once in a while, we also like to take a step back and ask more universal questions. So a while ago, we asked our community this question: what is your biggest challenge learning a new language? And received thousands of answers, and a lot of those along the lines that you might expect. So finding interesting and suitable content, for example, was a challenge. Making time, staying motivated, I guess we all know that. Finding a group to learn together, to support each other, hold each other accountable, or finding a great teacher. And then when it came to the top 3 challenges that people told us they have, on number 3, we had tracking your progress in making basically progress in the language. Then fear of making mistakes. I guess also a lot of us are familiar with that. And number 1 was a bit surprising to us. Number 1 was lack of immersion, and it was basically described as the wish to be able to live in a place where you're surrounded by the language, where you have to speak it every day, but not really being in this situation, in this position right now. And yeah, wishing to be in a place where you can use the language every day, are surrounded by it, and can immerse yourself in the language. And this was very similar across the world. There were some differences in the other challenges. In certain areas of the world, they were different, but lack of immersion was on top for basically all the areas where we asked members this question. And yeah, so we started to think, what can we do with this? How can we turn Tandem into a place where you can have a more immersive experience online, of course. And that meant also for us in the team to think back into where did we actually personally experience language immersion. And for me, that meant going a bit back in time and back into a different place. A couple of years ago, I lived in this beautiful city, or at least it's so beautiful on a smog-free day where you can see these beautiful mountains in the back. That's Santiago de Chile. And I lived there for half a year, not too far from that skyscraper there in the middle. And for me, this was a situation where I was learning a foreign language again for the first time really seriously after school. So I hadn't really learned a language in 20 years or so. And I also wanted to kind of do it a bit differently than my experience in school. I got familiar with language hacking around the time. So I intentionally didn't go to a language school and took classes, but rather tried to find my own path of using apps to learn phrases and vocabulary, using audio courses, and then of course also trying to immerse myself. And then I came across this amazing event here, which was called Spanglish Party. And what it basically was is once a week, every Tuesday, the organizers of this party, they basically invited everyone to come to a bar where you would have drinks and so on. And yeah, there would be people from Santiago de Chile who wanted to learn English, and people like me who speak English and wanted to learn Spanish. And it was a very relaxed atmosphere, drinks, you would talk to individual people, you would be talking in smaller groups. And there was a bell that was ringing every 20 minutes. And when the bell was ringing, you were supposed to switch from English to Spanish and back. And that was actually quite an eye-opening experience for me. It was actually really challenging, a bit stressful, a bit intimidating. I really had to leave my comfort zone, speaking in the beginning, pretty broken Spanish with strangers. But I also realized immediately that I was making a lot of progress during these events, that I had these also experiences of success where I felt, oh, wow, I spoke Spanish for the first time for 3 minutes, then 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, and was also very encouraging, very motivating. So yeah, this was one of the starting points that we took of thinking, how can we create more immersion on Tandem? Oh, by the way, I checked this in preparation of this for this talk. These events are still going on. So should anybody listen here by any chance from Santiago de Chile, you find them. They have a Facebook group called Spanglish Parties. And yeah, last Tuesday there was a Spanglish party in Santiago, and I guess there will be another one next week. Yeah, but what does this mean for Tandem? So we tried a couple of formats. We built prototypes for live streaming, for example. But yeah, then it was also the time when another trend emerged in kind of how people were communicating online, having interactions online, pioneered by this app called Clubhouse that I guess most of you are familiar with, and then later with Twitter Spaces, which was an audio experience only. So it's audio rooms you can create, you can join, you can speak there, and you can talk about any topic. And we were thinking that this audio experience, there's actually something special about them, also in the context of language learning. It's probably less intimidating to speak in an audio room, not having to show your face. There's also always the option to just listen in if you feel you're not quite at the level yet to speak your target language, to just be able to listen in and make some progress that way. Probably the biggest disadvantage is that it often helps to also see someone talk in a foreign language. You get all the nonverbal cues, and you also see their lips moving, and it helps you understand. But apart from this, we saw like a lot of potential in these audio experiences. So we also created a prototype for this, tested it with our community, and it resonated really well. So basically 2 months ago, we launched what we called language parties. It's a feature that looks like this. It's an area in our app where you can go and you see all the parties that are live right now with their title and description and the languages that are spoken. And then you can join. You can just tap join live party, and then you get into the party. That's the center screen here. You see the host and speakers. You can start to listen in immediately. You start being a listener, but you can raise your hand, and then the host can invite you on the stage to speak. The topics have a very wide range. I will go into detail on this in a bit. And yeah, you can just have an interaction or just listen in if you prefer that. And currently everyone can create a party. This is the screen on the right. You just have to give it a title and a description and define the languages spoken, and you can go live, and immediately others can join your party and you can start having a conversation. Yeah, so you might be wondering what's actually discussed at these parties. So basically we are categorizing the parties into 3 different themes, categories. And the first one of them being more like around serious language learning. It's parties where people talk about grammar, like here verb tenses, for example, where they're reading short stories together in the target language, playing word association games, practicing pronunciation, or also preparing for tests like TOEFL or IELTS. Then the second category of parties we name more like a cultural exchange. You see there's a party in German going on here where people want to discuss the plans of their life, their goals in their jobs. You can ask a geologist in Spanish. People talk about traveling, about cultural phenomenons like K-drama or K-pop, or any topics they're passionate about. There's also one called Käsespätzle Lovers, which I won't translate, but hint, it's a very, very German thing. Or yeah, talk just about cultures, about countries, how you perceive other countries and yours, and so on. And then there's a third category, which we call like hanging out. You can see here it's often around music, someone offering to play the guitar and people can wish for songs, karaoke, or a blind music test game, playing Truth or Dare, where you either have to answer a question or sing a song, or just chatting about any topic whatsoever. And there might be kind of the impression that these are maybe not so language learning centered, but actually our observation is that often in these kinds of more relaxed parties, people dare more to kind of, speak in a language they're maybe not so good at yet. It's not as intimidating. It's a relaxed atmosphere. Everybody's friendly. It's maybe comparable to my experience at these Spanglish parties. The Spanglish parties were also, there was no theme or no topic, or there was definitely no grammar lesson or anything like this. It was just a relaxed atmosphere where, it feels less intimidating to take your first steps in actually speaking a language. So, of course, we're also thinking about the parties, how to improve them for now. For now, they're still in a beta phase launched, still very much in its infancy. So we have a couple of areas where we want to improve. Oh no, first I have this slide, which tells a bit about how the parties resonate. So we launched them a bit more than 2 months ago, and so far more than 150,000 of these parties have been created and started. The longest of them that we saw so far lasted for 47 hours. So in case you want to beat it, that's your benchmark. And what we also saw is that those who go to these parties, who attend these parties, are more engaged, are more active on Tandem, and roughly spend twice as much time on Tandem than those who don't attend parties. Yeah, now about the areas where we see improvement or that we want to improve. Sorry, these should resemble these typical Post-it notes that you put on whiteboards where you collect ideas. And it's basically these 4 areas that we're looking at right now. We want to build in more language learning features. Currently, you can set a language that you want to start a party in, but you can't yet set a language level. That's something that we want to build. But also adding chat, so you have the opportunity to write down things, to spell them out, to explain them better. We're also thinking about language learning games, and also thinking about transcriptions, so you can read at the same time what others are saying, which is also often very helpful if you don't speak the language so well yet. Then we want to help our members to discover parties better, to recommend parties to them, to add more filters, to add search, and so on. We also want to make it easier to organize parties, to schedule them, for example, or to stay in touch after a party. And we also want to support party hosts, to give them the tools to basically build their own community on Tandem, and also eventually to be able to monetize that. Yeah, that's where we're currently at with language parties. But I also want to take like one step further and look into the future. Where could social learning take us in the future? Unfortunately, I don't really have that crystal ball that I can clearly see it yet where things are moving. But there's definitely one trend that we are observing pretty closely, which is the fact that more and more people are spending time in virtual worlds, in what's called the metaverse now. And I think it's not too far-fetched to imagine something like a Spanglish party in a virtual world, in a virtual reality, people wearing their headsets and being able to immerse themselves even deeper from their couches than what they see like on the small screen of their smartphone. Yeah, and if anyone out there who's in the audience is working on something like this, I would be super, super interested to talk to you. You can reach me. My email is tobias@tandem.net. You can also reach me on LinkedIn easily. And also, if you want to get in touch, not only with me, but with our team, we are also hosting a language party every other Wednesday currently at 5 p.m. Central European Time on Tandem in the language party section, where, you can ask us any questions, but also we are super, super happy to receive any feedback, any ideas, any ways how we can improve parties or Tandem in general. So yeah, I definitely want to encourage you to check out the language parties on Tandem, but especially this party where, I would be happy to get in touch with you. Yeah, that's my presentation so far. Oh yeah, one last thing. We are also hiring. We are actually hiring for a position for the language parties to help developing them further with us. It's a position which is called Creator Partnerships and Content Manager. You find it on our website in tandem.net in the career section. And yeah, what we need help with and what we're expecting from that role is to help us identify great party hosts, build relationships with them, build partnerships with them, and curate a great lineup of regularly hosted language parties on Tandem and take the language parties to the next level by that. Yeah, thank you very much. And very curious if there are any questions.
Thank you, Tobias. Can we get some clapping emojis in the chat, please? That would be great. Yes, thank you for that talk. That was very interesting. And I'm very excited about online parties. I'm a big fan. I think it's great. I don't have to leave the house. It's amazing. But yes, there are some questions, and I'm going to put two questions together because they kind of fall under the topic of like moderation. So do you can you guarantee in these parties that there's a moderator checking on how well participants are using the language, like help them correct their language or their mistakes? And the second question is more in line with how do you know that the people joining these parties are there for the right reasons? Because someone wrote that they have made really nice connections through Tandem, but some people message them who are not really interested in language learning. Naughty. Inevitable. Yeah. But yeah, that kind of falls under like moderation. How do you moderate these parties?
Yeah. So the first question, currently it's very much up to the hosts in these language parties to guide the conversation and also set the tone for correcting each other. And our goal is to basically educate these hosts on these topics also more thoroughly. This is also one of the areas for that position we are hiring for at the moment. And then basically help people to help each other in these parties. The second topic of what we call community health or prevention of bad actors, that's a big topic for Tandem in general. And we're doing a lot of things to even prevent people from joining the app in the first place. I think we're one of the only apps that I know of where you have to apply to become a member and you have to answer us a couple of questions. And there's a significant percentage of people that we reject and we don't invite into the community because, yeah, we have the evidence or the very strong impression that they are not there for language learning. Of course, there are still people who kind of slip through that. And for those occasions, we offer tools to report. Also in the party, in the language party, you can tap on someone's profile picture and report them. Then our community moderation team will take it from there. Yeah, very sorry about anyone who made a bad experience, but I can only really encourage people to report in these cases so we can actually take action.
Okay, excellent. I think we have time for another question, which I think is something everyone can relate to. I am an active Tandem user and I'm struggling to transition from messaging to audio-video calls. How can I overcome this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the majority of people who learn in one-on-one exchanges on Tandem use text messages and audio messages. It's only a minority that uses audio and video calls. And I guess it has a lot to do with it being intimidating, leaving your comfort zone, and so on. And it's actually one of the reasons why we came up with the language parties concept, because we thought it can ease you better into such an experience because you can just listen in to start. If you're on a one-on-one call, it would be very awkward if only one person is talking and the other is not answering. But yeah, to get familiar with it and maybe at some point have the courage to go on stage yourself and talk, and then maybe have the courage to talk one-on-one with your language exchange partner as well, because that's just the way to make the biggest progress. That's how you learn fastest. That's how your mind is very alert in these situations and how you get your mind and your brain to really make progress with the language.
And I guess you can also treat it like actual parties where you maybe like bring a friend. So it's like, hey, do you want to come to this language party? Because I'm a bit scared. And then you like both do it together. So maybe that would help overcome it, I guess, if you know other people who use Tandem.
I think it's definitely the case in the offline world. And I hope, yeah, we're going to have the opportunity to have more and more of these offline parties.
Okay, great. Let's see if anything else has come in. Let's see. Are there grammar exercises that you can like link to these parties? So are there any like resources for after these parties to practice?
I mean, in general, linking resources is something that we will enable by adding a chat functionality, which is still in the making. Currently, of course, you can kind of talk about it and spell out the URL or something like this. But yeah, this is all goes into building chat functionality and also building functionality for people to be able to stay in touch after a party and be able to post such resources there. It's currently not possible yet, but hopefully soon, yeah.
Okay, great. I think that's it in the chat at the moment. Someone said they can't find it in the app at the moment, but it's still not released yet, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's not fully rolled out yet. I mentioned it's still in a beta phase and still in a kind of an early phase, but we're going to roll it out over the next weeks to more users. You can find it. The trick is to either set yourself as speaking English and learning Spanish, or the other way around. Basically, having English or Spanish in one of your languages, and then you should see it. You might have to reinstall the app to see it, like uninstall it and reinstall, but then you should be able to see it.
Okay, great. Yeah, then that wraps up the Q&A. I'm afraid that's about it, but we have some time to spare. So thank you again, Tobias. This was an excellent talk. Very excited about this. Looking forward to it rolling out soon.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll see me at a party.
Looking forward.
Okay, great. Yeah, so in the next few minutes, we will have another talk and Danielle will be taking over again. So I will see you later. Thanks again.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.